rifle through. But let's get to the second guy. And again, this is a guy you like a lot too. To me, as I said, is right now my only targets. I Vucevic is great, but all things being equal, if you could keep the bigs on this roster, I would live with that set of bigs in order to put all the chips in to get that third wing and the thing that you're missing with Gordon Hayward. I thought this was a championship team last year with Hayward without him getting hurt. They absolutely could have made it to the finals. I think they could have given a run in those finals. And I think if they ran it back right now with Hayward and everybody fully healthy this year, they'd be right back there too. So this, I think, is what they're missing more than anything. This positional versatility, the ability to play that switchable defense, another person to have that offensive load lifted so you don't feel like you have to have 2 out of 3 players. And again, Vucevic would do that too, just from a different place. And this is the guy I want, the guy who can defend the big wing. I think this is the prize if you can get it. And I think Barnes is in that category too. Is another person you're going to consider here. But again, Grant, 2 more years on his contract, $20 million. This is the first year he's really shown star potential. Every other year of his case, this is his 5th team with Detroit. Okay, this is a guy who a year ago was traded for a first-round pick. I don't know what it's going to take to get him, but I think if you can, this is a person I would absolutely go heavy on. I'd be willing to give more for Grant than I would for Vucevic, even though Vucevic might be an all-around better player based on what I think the team needs.
I agree, and it probably will take more to get him because of the fact that he's become their centerpiece player. The story behind him is interesting too.
But he is one of those guys you are worried, Bobby. I will say, good stats, bad team. You see these guys. A lot of guys can go places and score 20 points a game, and then they go on a good team, and they're 13, 14 points a game, and everyone's like, oh, what did we pay all this money for? I think he might fall into that kind of category of guys. A nice player, but I don't think he's a guy who's averaging 25 points per game on a good team.
So I followed his career pretty closely because he went to Syracuse.
Yeah, of course.
He was a great player at Syracuse, and he got picked like 43rd overall by Philly. Got lost in the shuffle with those teams that were tanking, and then went to Oklahoma City. They dumped him because they had other plans. And then in Denver, I know he was only there a year, but he was such an important part of that West Conference Finals team as a role player, which is, of course, what he would be in Boston as well. Corner 3-point shooting through the roof. Defensive versatility, outstanding. His ability to score off the dribble has gone through the roof here. So you say good stats, bad team. Certainly wouldn't be averaging 24 here the way he has been throughout much of this year. But his shooting, his offensive ability is sustainable, I think, especially the 3-point shot. I love his shot. So I look at him and say, if I had to pick between him and Hayward, I'd actually probably go with him over Hayward. So,
wow. Because of the youth?
A little bit of the youth, but I also think he's a great defender. Like, he is a phenomenal forward defender. Now, Hayward was a really good defender, too, because he had size. But this guy's been a defender his whole life, and he's only gotten better, and he has
their athletic
size.
Profile is similar. They're both 6'8", both long. They cut,
Now, Hayward's better on offense. There's no doubt about that. Grant's kind of come into his offense. He can handle the ball, and Yeah, but he's come such a long way in that. I just don't think he's available. I know Scale's been throwing out his name all year because they played Detroit 3 times, and every time they played them, he was throwing out his name as the TPE guy because he fits.
I don't get it either.
I think if you read into the reason he went to Detroit with the community and Black Lives Matter and, black GM, black coach, that kind of thing, I actually believe that. I don't think that's just like Hayward, for example, saying, I always want to be a Hornet. I actually think there's something to that. And Detroit, like they don't have a guy to work around right now. I don't think Grant's
like for the cheese chops, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's like a future star there, but he's a building block for them, and he signed 3 years, which isn't forever. But to your point, they're gonna have to really entice them, and I think teams.
But it's not that much money. Like you're paying $20 million, which was an overpay on a guy who was averaging 12 points a game, who you thought might be better too.
Yeah.
Now averaging 23 points per game for you, who's a fringe all-star type player and certainly in the conversation, if not leading the pack for comeback player of the year, most improved player rather. Yeah. You couldn't get this on the open market. If he were a free agent this offseason, they would pay a great deal more than what they're paying. So right now, he's a bargain at $20 million for the next couple of years, which means I don't know what you're gaining if you're Detroit by selling this piece, unless you get a Godfather offer in return. So I've never understood. I think everyone looks at trades based on what teams want. They look at bad teams and they're like, let's just loot those teams. But if you're that bad team, it's got to be worth it for you. And right now, I can't see a scenario that it is for Detroit. It makes no sense.
Not with the Celtics. I think a team like the Warriors, who have the Timberwolves pick, could make an enticing offer.
That's right. That's what I mean. That's a different story. That's where the Celtics suffer. They only have their own picks, and given that they're going to be competitive for several years, that's not that great. You're a lot of bottom-feeding picks right now is what you're giving.
Yeah, I don't see Grant moving this year, period. Maybe they take a look at it in the offseason and see what other picks.
I don't see it, period. I'm with you.
And they have their own pick, which is going to be top 3. So yeah, I think they're in a good spot now.